Hey everybody, I decided to do my video and my project on John Paul Jones. Some of you may have heard of him. He is, I believe, a lesser known character within history, especially with the American Revolutionary War. So let's get into it. So here are some of the things you can expect to learn about from this video. We'll be talking about John Paul Jones and his role in the Continental Navy, fighting the British Royal Navy. We'll talk about how he brought the fight essentially to England's front door and how he secured French naval support through his results, and how he's just overall an awesome guy. John Paul Jones was born on July 6th in the year 1747 as John Paul in Scotland. He first went out to sea as a cabin boy aboard merchant ships and slave ships working for the British Navy. He eventually became the captain of a ship after he led the ship back to port when the previous captain had died of yellow fever. He enjoyed a very successful career until eventually he was forced to kill a mutinous crew member in self-defense. Rather than face a trial he was likely to lose, John Paul decided to flee to Virginia, adding the surname Jones to hide from law enforcement. Once the American Revolution was fully underway, Jones decided to join up with the Continental Navy. At the time, it was pretty pathetic compared to the British Royal Navy, which was arguably the most powerful fighting force on the seas in the world. Rather than facing open engagements with the British Royal Navy, the Continental Navy focused on cutting supply lines, mostly attacking merchant ships and the like. Throughout the Revolution, Americans were also seeking aid from the French, which began in 1776. The French were initially reluctant to fully commit themselves to the American side of the conflict, and mainly focused on providing supplies. The French would be ideal allies throughout the American Revolution. France versus Britain is a tale as old as time itself. However, the French were entirely uncertain of the American capabilities and wondered how fully committed they were to this fight, as they were in fact facing the most powerful nation in the world at the time. They needed to be sure that we could win. Alas, American victories would equal more French support. Eventually, a formal military alliance was announced in 1778, and the French committed themselves to the fight for American independence. But before this alliance could come into being, America had to prove it was capable of taking on Britain in a fair fight. This is where John Paul Jones comes in, as far as Continental Navy is concerned. He began his career with the Continental Navy aboard the ship the Alfred in 1775. After proving himself a very capable sailor, he was eventually made captain of the Providence in 1776, and after proving himself once again, he was made captain of the Ranger in 1777. Jones took this ship, the Ranger, and his hardy crew and led several successful raids along the English coast. One of his most well-known raids was the Whitehaven raid. This is the town that would eventually give him a pardon for his actions almost 2.5 centuries later. After proving what a capable commander he was throughout his raids along the English coast and bringing the fight to England's front door, he was eventually given command of the Bonhomme Richard, I think is how it's said, from the French. This gift from the French included the Bonhomme Richard itself and a small fleet of 5 ships, which he could lead into formal engagements with the British Royal Navy. Now, up to this point, John Paul Jones has had many famous exploits, but none quite as good as this one, the capture of the Serapis. It's arguably his most famous battle, and it was in fact the bloodiest engagement for the Continental Navy during the Revolutionary War. And I decided to go ahead and have a horrendous recreation of this, admittedly very low budget, but with a lot of effort, and I hope you enjoy. Hey guys, so it's Fred from the future, and he realized that Fred from the past was an idiot and totally forgot to give you some background on the capture of the Serapis. So John Paul Jones was going to attack a merchant convoy. However, it was protected by a couple of British Navy ships. One of them was the Serapis. And so a battle ensued, and quite frankly, Jones was in over his head with this one. The Serapis was much better equipped, much faster than his own Bonhomme Richard, and the battle was going poorly for him. And that's where we entered the scene, with the ship on fire and Jones trying to figure out what to do next.
Alright, give me the damage report, lad. Look around! have 3 guns left. 3! Against 44. Most of our men are dead. There's just a couple of officers left. Just surrender already. Jesus.
Nah, I don't think I will.
Oh, for God's sake, Captain. Look around. We can't win this. I'm gonna go strike the colors.
No, I don't think you will.
Bruh.
Anyone else need to take a quick nappy?
That shit looked like it hurt. Hell no.
Good.
But Captain, what are we going to do?
We're outmanned, outgunned.
It's finished.
Oh, aye, is that what you think?
We got nothing.
We're gonna ram the bastard.
Oh my God, he's crazy. We're gonna die. Now watch me whip. Now watch me nay-nay.
All right, men. We're on course for the Serapis. Get ready to fight like your lives depend on it. 'Cause they do.
Are you freaking serious? This is insane.
A jolly good show, chaps. He's coming this way. Surely he means to surrender. Dear sir, have your colours struck?
I have not yet begun to fight.
By the gods, he means to ram us. Steer to board! Steer to board!
He spilled my tea.
Now there shall be no surrender. Let's go!
This is crazy.
Well, hello there.
Oh, they're so screwed.
Captain, I'm afraid I have some very bad news indeed. Can't you see I'm trying to brew more tea? What is it?
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Terribly sorry. It's just, well, you see, I just came to inform you that, well, something... You see, Captain, I'm just trying to say...
Spit it out, or I'll have you thrown overboard.
Well, you see, Captain, the Americans have tossed a grenade into our gunpowder supply, and...
Why didn't you start with that?
Yes, well, you see, sir, I saw you were brewing tea, and I wanted to just give you...
What's the damage report?
Oh, well, it hasn't gone off yet. I just came to inform you that...
Go stop the bloody grenade before it destroys the
Boom. So real talk for a moment, if my acting has confused you. So what happened was he rammed the ship, his men boarded it, and one of his guys had a grenade, and he tossed it into the ammo hold, and it went off. I don't know if they actually saw it happen. That was just kind of funny, but yeah, pretty badass.
Oh, Captain, the grenade seems to have gone off. I'm afraid we were a tad too late. But, the good news is we're catastrophically damaged.
Bruh.
Captain, what are we going to do?
Unfortunately, lads, we have to make like the French.
I didn't lose. I merely failed to win. It was just so that I, John Paul Jones, captured the HHS Serapis that day. Outmanned, outnumbered, outgunned, on the brink of defeat. A major moral blow to England. Thousands of English washed from the coast as we handed the Brits their own rear on a platter. Good day.
So what's the point of all this? Why does John Paul Jones matter so much to the American Revolutionary War? Well, quite frankly, going into it, no one believed America was going to win. It wasn't even meant to be a war of independence from the start. It was just a little wake-up call for Britain. Something to make them realize, hey, we want some things to change. You know, no one actually believed that they were going to achieve a victory against the most powerful fighting force in the world. And victories like this one changed that narrative. It was through victories like this that French support was achieved when they finally realized that, hey, we might actually have a fighting chance here. And it also probably decreased British morale, because if you have the most powerful fighting force in the world, and then one guy with a boat and a crew is able to go raiding up and down the coast freely, and then not only that, but also take on one of your best ships and then ram his into it while it's sinking and on fire and still win the battle, it'd make me feel like a total loser. Also, French support is ultimately what won the war, but we wouldn't have gotten the French support we needed without proving that we were capable of winning this fight. So ultimately, guys like John Paul Jones made the American dream of independence a reality. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm not the best recording person, but for all your hard-earned effort, or not effort, for all your effort and dealing with my not very good talking skills, here's a meme. Viewer discretion advised.